All right. So, for this week's story, I'm going to do a little bit of a rewind. Back to the story of Theseus. Because Theseus already had a reputation as a hero before he ever even met the Minotaur. And that's because in his early life, Theseus didn't know his father. But once he came of age and grew strong enough, he's able to lift the stone under which his father, King Acrisius, had hidden his own sword and sandals. And that was how Theseus got the sword and sandals that he wore on his trip from Athens to Athens from Treason. Now, on the trip from Treason, he came across multiple bandits and brigands and monsters, and he defeated them as he went. The first of those was one called the Club Bearer. And he was called the Club Bearer because he had a heavy iron club that he used to basically beat everyone he met to a bloody pulp and steal their stuff. And so, Theseus is heading down a road when this huge man with a huge iron club comes towards him. And he says, "I am the Club Bearer." And Theseus said, "No, you're not." No, I'm the Club Bearer. Here is my club. And he raised his club. It's like, no, that's clearly a bronze club. Everyone knows the Club Bearer carries an iron club. This is an iron club. No, it's bronze. It's brass at best. Don't pretend. I mean, when the actual Club Bearer finds out that you pretend to be him, he's probably going to be really, really mad. No, this is iron. Any fool can see it's iron. Here, look. And he handed the club to Theseus. And can you guess what Theseus did with the club? That's exactly right. He bludgeoned the Club Bearer to death with his own weapon. And that is the Club Bearer down. The next one he came across was the Wrestler. Now the Wrestler, guess what the Wrestler did?
Wrestle.
He wrestled, yes. Sorry, didn't read a mouthful of granola bar. All right, the Wrestler challenged everyone who came down the road to a wrestling match. And when you lost the wrestling match, he would crush you to death in his huge, strong arms. And legend had it, rumor had it, that the Wrestler was actually a demigod, that his father was Poseidon or Hephaestus. Either way, he was huge and strong. But Theseus did manage to beat the Wrestler. And he actually didn't do it through super strength. He just did it by flat out being a skilled wrestler and knowing what he was doing. And so, skill beat power, and Theseus won that battle. And he gave the Wrestler a taste of his own medicine and wrestled him to death. So that was 2 down. Now came the third one. The third brigand that he met was called the Pine Bender. Now the reason... What are you doing? The reason he was called the Pine Bender... Ooh, do you think you know?
He can bend a whole pine tree?
That's right! Now, not only could this guy bend over a whole pine tree, what he would do is he'd bend over one pine tree and hold it, and then he'd bend down the other pine tree and hold it, and then he would tie travelers, one arm to one tree and one arm to the other tree, and let go of the trees.
Oh, no.
And guess what happened?
Yeah.
That's right. It didn't end prettily for the guys tied in between the 2 trees. And so Theseus is going down the road, and he sees the infamous Pine Bender, who's already bending down a tall pine tree. And he says, "Come here and hold this. I have something to show you. You grab on while I pull down this other one." And Theseus kind of goes, and grabs it, like, it's not working. The pine needles keep coming, like, "No, don't grab onto the little branches. Grab onto the actual, the tree. Grab onto the tree." And so Theseus tried, "I just can't get a good grip. I don't know how to do this." And say, "Oh, here, come on, I'll show you. Bend it down. Yep. Keep bending it. Good. Now, once you have it bent down, grab it like this." And he took a firm hold of the pine tree. And guess what Theseus did to the pine tree? Yep, he let it go and launched the Pine Bender into the air. And where he landed, nobody knows. So, 3 brigands down. And then he came at last to... Oh, you can't bump the mic microphone don't make a lot of noise. He came at last to the brigand known as Procrustes the Stretcher. Now, Procrustes. Oh, do you know about Procrustes? Okay, she knows about Procrustes. She doesn't need the story. Should I just stop now then? Okay. Procrustes was famous. He would welcome people to his home. It's like, oh, you must be tired. I have a comfortable bed. It is the most comfortable bed because this bed will fit anybody, no matter how big or how small. And Procrustes was right. Because what did the bed do if they were too short?
Stretch to death.
Stretched to death. Stretched them out. And what did Procrustes do if they were too tall?
Chopped off with an axe.
Yeah, if you're
Head and legs.
if you're too big, if you're too tall, off come all the extra bits that stick off the end of the bed. And so Procrustes says, "Here, get on my bed. It's quite comfortable. I wonder if you'll need to be stretched or not." And Theseus tried laying down the bed, and he was laying on it sideways. Like, this doesn't fit at all. You said this is a comfortable bed. I don't fit. Like, no, you're laying on it the wrong way. It's like, so he kind of laid on diagonally. Like, this still doesn't fit. I don't know what you're doing here. Like, no, you're laying on the wrong way. And Theseus laid underneath the bed. And Procrustes is getting more and more angry. Like, don't you know how to lay on the bed? You lay on the bed like this. And he lay down on the bed. And guess what?
Chop, chop, or stretch?
Chop, chop. Procrustes was a very, very tall man, so he had to have bits of him shaved off, not stretched longer. And those were the 4 labors of Theseus before he ever even made it to Athens. And it is why he was already famous before his father even met him. And that's actually where I'm going to stop for today. I want to be able to enjoy the rest of my time in the woods with these guys. And a short story is better than no story. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
All right. So, have a good weekend. Find some good stories. And talk to you later.